That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear. Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo5 Radio, and I'm glad that you are listening and following. And we're going to have this very interesting day as I try and make sense as to why I can't find anything today, not even my brain. If I only had a brain. Oh my goodness. It's just one of those days. We have finally made it to Friday, and this has been a very interesting week. My name is Watson Prunier. I'm a host from Battle for Freedom. My website's Battle4Freedom.com. I want you to share this out with as many people as you possibly can. Do me a favor, share this out with as many people as you can, and maybe I'll wake up by the time everybody's ready to hear what I have to say. Go to mojo50.com. This is one of the shows that you can listen to and you can find on this amazing network that I'm able to speak to you on. And I also want you to do me a favor, go to if you can, Battle for Freedom, and as well as Mojo50 Radio. And not from Mojo5 Radio, American Pride Roasters, and share this out with as many people as you possibly can. Let's listen to some American Pride Roasters coffee.
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo5 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me. Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo5 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
Yes, American Pride Roasters coffee, folks. Share with as many people as you possibly can. And maybe they'll wake up in this whole process of having this discussion and figuring out exactly what's going on. Are you doing the right coffee, or are you drinking that toxic, what we call burned water that you get from that other place you really shouldn't be getting coffee from? Oh, folks, so this is going to be one of those that, I don't even know where to begin to tell you exactly where I'm at on this today, because this week has been a very informative week for me. I don't know why, but I've had a chance to have discussions with two teachers this week. One, I met this Sunday that after preaching a sermon talking about the whole idea of false accusations and finding commonalities in where we minister to kids and we help kids and we help each individual recover. And then the other side is I had a conversation with a teacher I hadn't seen, as a former karate instructor that I haven't seen in 25 years. And what was very interesting about this was the level of discussion that we had to help one another come to an understanding of what matters most, of trying to hear one another and basically be able to make a difference in helping America recover. Now, when you talk to my friend that I spoke with, I hadn't spoke to in over 25 years. Come to find out his son just turned 25 years old. And so if you looked at us, we are on the different sides of the political spectrum. We are on the different sides of the political spectrum. And for some strange reason, one of the things that I learned in this discussion that we had yesterday was we all don't have to agree with one another, but we do have to be civil with one another. And as I reflected on the conversation that I had this past Sunday with this one teacher, that possibly we don't even agree with a lot of things politically, but the concern about being wanting to help one's neighbor, wanting to see people succeed, there was a common interest. There was a common interest yesterday, even in my discussion with this teacher, this friend, who I hadn't spoken to in so long. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was a very humbling moment when I watched and I listened and I learned I couldn't even sleep right because of the fact that what I was confronted with when I was having this discussion. Yes, Linda, people need to learn to agree to disagree, but it's even deeper than that. It's even deeper than that. That I ran into a situation where I'm listening to him and he's sharing things with me that completely blew me away when I saw what similarities we had. Shared more stuff with me about Trump that, I completely forgot about. Shared some things with me about Trump that I completely forgot about. But what was really strange was that, okay, some things, there's a strong opinion against Trump in many other different ways, but I wanted to listen, I wanted to hear, and there are things that I'm going to look into further. Things that I even talked about that are questionable about the character of Donald J. Trump years ago. And I'm hoping that we will have a mentality to sit and listen and do the research. So I did not really have a means of providing a title for you on what this was going to look like. But even before I went to sleep, have you ever heard the phrase, you need to mind your P's and Q's? And so I'm talking today about P's, Q's, and W's and the long road to recovery for America, a long road to American recovery. And the reason why I say this is because there are things and there are details that we need to stop in our partisanship, and actually be willing to listen where people may be coming from. I mean, that was exactly the beginning of the conversation that I had with this teacher earlier this week. And then to hear some things, folks, I've said this before. I had this bad feeling back in 2016. Yes, I voted for him in 2020, but he needed to step down and he needed to walk away, and he won't do this. And a lot of us keep supporting us. I'm going to let you know, as much as we think that Donald Trump is helping the Republican Party, he's helping conservatism. My estimates of us never being back in office for another 12 years was shattered yesterday, and it looks like it could be decades before Republicans will ever be in control again. Decades. It could be 20 plus years before Republicans ever get a chance to be in office again, because of the fact that we have allowed Trump to destroy this party. Now, my friend that I had this conversation with, he honestly, he said, hey, understand this. There are problems on both sides of the aisle. There are problems on both sides of the aisle. There are people that he wants to get rid of. And this is a black man who's a Democrat that I had a conversation with, who is an educated man. Okay? He's an educated man who has been able to communicate. And I love what he said, because he even said, if our founding fathers saw what we're doing today, they'd turn over in their grave. Because what we're doing right now with politics of right versus left, Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus libertarian, is nowhere on the map of what our founding fathers wanted us and expected us to do. And I agree. And every last one of us should be in the same way, that we feel the same exact way, that we never should have allowed things to get this bad. But here we are. Our lives are destroyed because of the fact that we put so much energy into trying to put people in power. And I'm not going to lie to you, folks. I saw a completely different side. I saw a completely different side of what this whole thing looks like yesterday. And it blew me away. We're going to lose this if Donald Trump and people continue to align themselves with Donald Trump. When I'm not going to lie to you, when Donald Trump came on the scene a few years ago, or back in 2015, this guy's been a Democrat all his life. Now he's running as a Republican. And everybody, because we want something different, we're basically taking this man lock, stock, and barrel, and we're not questioning, is this the best choice? Yes, we were too refined in our mentality, and we didn't know how to properly deal with Republicans. We needed someone with a little bit more backbone and everything like that. But I'm telling you, folks, Donald Trump wasn't the answer. Donald Trump was not the answer. And he is going to ruin us through and through. This is very scary because of the fact that I don't believe that we fully understand how bad this is going to get. This is going to be worse than you ever could imagine if we don't get Trump out the door as quick as possible. This is very scary, folks. I don't think you fully understand this. And when I said to you earlier this week that what is it, near 50% of Republicans are willing to, who voted for Trump, are willing to follow him into another party, it is now the end. And I don't even want to really look at this as Republican versus Democrat. Understand this. You have to understand that there are things, even now, that we're angry about, that we want to turn around and we want to basically put an end to. No kids being student loan forgiveness. Don't want this to happen, right? I want to break this down. And Belinda, you can call it BS all you want, but if you turned around and you supported Donald Trump being able to use a system and file bankruptcy on a lot of companies, and from what I'm hearing, and I'm going to do the investigation, I ask you all to do because here's the thing about it. You're in emotionalism right now because you don't want to hear anything else against Donald Trump, but you have to be prepared to do this. When I did the history on finding out what does P's and Q's mean, when I did the idea of understanding P's and Q's for printers, when we look at our keyboards, we have the QWERTY keyboard, but the keys had to be reversed when they were printing. So instead of the Q being all the way to the left and the P being all the way to the right, they were switched. So you had to mind your P's and Q's, and the idea was paying attention to the details when they were going to do the printing. So when I say P, Q's, and W's, I'm basically saying pay attention to the detail and start asking yourself questions, why? Because if your allegiance is to Donald Trump more than the principles of this country, the principles of liberty, and your hope is in this man to actually save the Republican Party, you and we are part of the problem. Donald Trump, again, this is not to dredge up history, but we want to dredge up history on the Democrat Party, and we want to dredge up history on Joe Biden being in office for 47 years, but we can't have the discussion about the indecencies and the inconsistencies in the life of Donald Trump. We are hypocrites. It's a long road to recovery if we're going to have this high and haughty opinion that we can't hold Donald Trump accountable for his actions. Donald Trump, if it's true that the companies that he filed bankruptcy against were minority businesses that were defrauded from the money from Donald Trump, and we're going to sit here and we're going to be angry about student loan forgiveness, but we allowed a person to be in the White House who basically used the system to not be responsible and paying people back. I'll give you one bankruptcy. I'll even give you one divorce. But the inconsistencies in morality in his life, but we wanted to win at all costs. And now here it is. The Republican Party is about to fail. We will not be in office. You keep thinking that this is not the truth. You keep thinking that this is BS. Let me even drop it to you further. We want to talk about election fraud. Okay, my friend doesn't agree with election fraud. I do. But I'm going to blow your mind. It's going to even be bigger because he said something yesterday I've been trying to tell you guys and you haven't paid attention. You know who they say is the quintessential change in the whole process of why Democrats win? Forget it. Scrub your minds out about voter fraud. Scrub your minds out about voter fraud. Yes, Amy, we need to know that he is not God. He is not God, but we keep lifting him up as God. We keep turning around and doing all this stuff about thinking when he said, I'm the only one who could fix this situation. The arrogance, the haughtiness. He's destroying the party. Are there swamp creatures? Yes, there are swamp creatures, but I tell you that Trump in and of himself is the swamp as well. There's no humility. There are Democrats who are willing to admit that Donald Trump, all he had to do was humble himself. All he had to do was be honest and say, we've got a serious problem here with the COVID issues. But what did he do? He had to be in front of everybody. His ego let him be in front of everything, and he just wouldn't let the powers that be do their job. We have to admit that. That he had to be up front all the time. Every time you had to see him, when he was on the national stage, when he was on the global stage, he was beating out other country leaders to be out in front because it had to always be about him. And if you think that this has changed any different, that you think that Donald Trump is really about saving this country and not making it more about him, then you've lost your focus. You've lost your focus. But let me tell you on this and more than anything else. Stacey Abrams. As much as we may not like Stacey Abrams was a quintessential factor in mobilizing Democrats, and specifically Black Democrats, minority Democrats, to turn around and get more educated. And why? Because she showed them and said the changes to change this country and control this country is not in the White House. It's in the local positions. It's in the local offices. It's in these podunk towns, in these podunk areas. It's controlling these areas, and that's how you control the country. Stacey Abrams, about all the voter fraud. No, folks. And let's take voter fraud off the table. One of the things that Democrats have been excellent in doing that Republicans have failed on for so long is that Democrats are great in mobilizing people to get things done. Okay? Yes, Trump had thousands and thousands of people at his rallies, and Joe Biden had none. Yes, he had thousands, but you know what? What did they do? They came to the rallies to hear Trump be cocky, just like Carolyn said, be cocky all the time, and everybody was sitting there waiting for Q, waiting for this information drop, waiting for this information drop. You see that? Do you get this? You have to understand something. The Screw Tape Letters was really powerful by C.S. Lewis because it talked about the idea of how these demons would turn around and start destroying people. Not because of the fact of trying to convince them that their God didn't matter or that their God wasn't true. The demon's plan was basically to tell them, you know what? Yes, he matters, but it's not important now. They made them slothful. They made people slothful. They made the importance of salvation so secondary, tertiary, because all these other things, all these other fancy things that I'm doing for you, I'm entertaining you. And you're focusing on me entertaining you rather than me enlightening you. And what do? We waited for Q. Who's QAnon? What is Q going to do for us? What kind of information are they going to give to us? When is this information going to drop? The goalpost keeps moving on trust the plan. So now we're waiting till next Friday. If you're waiting till next Friday to hope that Donald Trump is going to actually win office, don't vote again. Don't vote again. You pretty much just gave your vote to Democrats. Because if you're sitting here thinking that it's this man who's going to save this country instead of God, pay attention to the details. Donald Trump was a Democrat all his life. And as we sit here and we look at this information, this Negro was a Manchurian candidate. Oh, but he helped. Yes, Amy, confusion is not of God. And when you sat there and you watched, yes, some people say you can't verify that it was him tweeting, but he never got out there and basically says, that's not me tweeting. That's not me tweeting. I don't agree with the things that are happening on Twitter. I don't agree with this. I disagree with the premise of what people were doing. He never combated what was happening. He did it over and over and over again, and he allowed this foolishness to take place We are going to lose for the next 12 years as long as Donald Trump's fingerprint is on this. Donald Trump, I said it back in 2015, I'll reiterate it now. He was the Manchurian candidate who came in. He wasn't draining the swamp. He sat there as a cancer and destroyed the Republican Party. He is, yes, Trump is not a savior. God is our savior. And that is the truth through and through. But the problem is people putting their hope in. They're hoping in March 6th, the second inauguration, and that Trump is the 19th president. We have put so much hope into believing that Trump is going to fix and save this country. And I've been telling you, this is his form of idolatry that God does not like. You guys worship him. We have worshiped him, and we thought that he would be the solution on saving America. And I'm telling you, if you pay attention to the factors, if you pay attention to the figureheads, I mean, look at this, the cockiness of Marjorie Greene, and the cockiness of this other congressperson who wants to have stinking rifles on her wall in the midst of a committee meeting. You sit here and you arrogantly promote this stuff, your arrogance, your boastfulness, that you don't want to humble yourself and say you were wrong. I should listen to these people who know more than me. Let them take care of this situation and me back off the scene. No, Renee, he's not yesterday. Trump is today. Trump is today because a lot of people have put their hope into Trump and hoping that he's going to be the one who's going to fix this problem. And it's like he's not. He's making matters worse. He's making matters worse. It's horrific. I can't believe how bad. I knew he was a cancer, but until having this discussion yesterday with my friend, I didn't realize how terminal Trump really is, or really was, and will be to conservatism. Folks, this is deep. This is, let me help you say it this way. We were waiting on information from QAnon, and I said it, QAnon, Lynn Wood, all these Steve Bannon, all these other different people, that they were chaotic, and they were just getting us riled up for all this stuff. They were a cancer that kept us distracted. And understand this, folks. It's going to be worse than you ever can imagine, and we're not going to recover from this until we get Trump out of the way. It's worse than you ever could imagine. Lynn Wood are deranged. Yes, they are. The QAnon, and they are deranged. When you see, there's a picture of Lynn Wood, man on fire, that he shows a picture of him holding a Bible, and you have the green toad lizard behind him. That green toad lizard is chaos. See, everybody is all happy to see Lynn Wood, man on fire, destroying the establishment, destroying the cabal and everything like that. Pay attention to the details. Chaos, chaos, chaos. I mean, even as we sit there and say, well, he told them to peacefully protest. You remember, we were angry that Barack Obama was nowhere to be seen for 8 hours or 13 hours during the Benghazi storm and the lives being lost. Trump could have been out in front of this even while everything else was going on. And folks, this is bigger than you can ever imagine. It's a nightmare. It's time that we wake up and realize how bad this is. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom, Mojo 5 Radio. Let's go to a break, and I'll talk to you on the flip side. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Because something went wrong with my screen and I don't know what's going on here. Hey everyone, I'm your host Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio, and I'm glad that you have decided to follow me and pay attention and work with me through this thing called life and craziness that's driving me up the wall. First segment was I'm talking about P's and Q's and the long road to American recovery, and I know a lot of people didn't like have to say what I had to say about Trump, about what's happening and how we're going to be negatively affected. Those of you who can't listen on iHeartRadio, I apologize, but my computer screen has been completely a nightmare this whole week, where things have just went off the screen that I can't find the stuff. So I'll be sure to try and make available for you to hear and see what's going on. I don't know why. This has just been a nightmare in reference to computers not cooperating and acting correctly. But, you know, I know a lot of people aren't happy to hear what I have to say about in this broadcast. But you have to understand something. You need to understand something right now. We're going to be screwed if we don't wake up right now, if we don't pay attention, if we don't get this thing underway of following the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. There are things about our former president that did not help the cause. Were there great things done? Yes, there were great things done. But you have to understand something. Sometimes people play act for so long until you see their nature come out. I mean, think about this. Think about this right now. If it wasn't all about Trump, if it wasn't all about him, he would back away and allow the people who could change this country to step in and do what's right. Now, we got angry when we didn't want another Bush in the White House. We didn't want another Clinton in the White House. We didn't want another Obama in the White House. But for some strange reason, having Jared and Ivanka and all these other Trumpettes in office seems like something great. We got to push forward for doing this. You're hypocrites. If we don't want the system of other people turning in and stepping in and having this dynasty in there, why in the world are we pushing for a Trump dynasty? Trump can't get off the scene. Just like you were angry that Barack Obama won't go away, trust me, Trump will be far worse than Barack Obama. Right now, we're getting angry. We're getting angry because of the fact that we don't want to see, we don't want to hear what is going to go on. We for crying out loud, we have to stop doing this. We're wanting to see, we want to see changes. And are there times where Trump might have been a little bit more apparent or a little bit more brass in what he was saying? Yes. But you have to understand that transparency has been lacking in the White House from Republicans and Democrats for so long. Even in the handling, again, Fauci was flipping and flopping. This person was flipping and flopping. But there were stories we even knew about. Get this. Do you telling me, think about this, okay? You're telling me that we knew, and we have the prints of, in January of 2019, that Congress passed a law about COVID-19. A whole year before this stuff landed and became a problem in the United States. I even said that you can go back to September and August when there were cases of COVID-19 taking place in our country. No one wanted to have that discussion. No one wanted to talk about that. You're telling me that the president didn't know? You're telling me that the president didn't know? He knew about it. But I don't want to make everyone panic. But we can get everybody excited about, oh, we're going to throw Hillary in jail. We're going to sit there and we're going to expose all these other different people. We're going to turn around, we're going to bust this mother out, and you wait till the last day before you leave office to provide the information. He had us waiting on information for 4 years until the day before he left office to provide information. And what did we do? We sat at the edge of our seats waiting to be enlightened by what says Trump. We waited and waited and waited to see that there was going to be information from him, that Hillary was going to go down, that Barack was going to go down, all these people were going to go down. And guess what? None of the information came out. Get this, they knew about the Biden laptop even before the primaries took place. It never came out. They knew about it back then. Why not tell us in the middle of all that stuff that was going on then? They knew about this stuff. Trump knew about this stuff, but he waited until it was politically expedient to try and share this out. But by the time he shared it, the information was too late. I'm telling you this, folks, because a lot of you right now, you put a lot of your hope into Trump fixing this problem. You put a lot of hope into Trump fixing this problem. And I'm telling you, stop. I had Cindy Gross on, last year, when I was interviewing and she was running for office, and she said almost every candidate in New York who put their name behind Trump lost. Every person who put their name behind Trump lost. Trump came in. He might have been great for what happened in 2016, but for 2020, it wasn't supposed to be Trump. It wasn't supposed to be Trump. It needed to be another leader. Because Trump wouldn't humble himself. And see, a lot of us right now, we're getting angry. We don't want to hear anything negative about Trump. Don't say anything about my president. Oh, you're one of those never Trumpers. You hated Trump, you all this stuff. No. My thing is I hate the idea. The idea of us putting all this trust in this man. Amy, she says, and children living in tunnels, why did he say he didn't know who QAnon was? Hogwash. So true. He knew who QAnon was. We got beast mode, Trump, and all these other different things exposing the system, exposing the swamp. He was a swamp, folks. P's and Q's. Ask yourself why. And I'm telling you, I want you to do this. I want you to do your own history on this, okay? I thought that Trump's father was over the real estate agency when they were blocking blacks from actually getting into buildings. But it looks like Trump may have had more of a role in there at the time that he was there. He was the hammer bringing things down. Now, I still don't believe that his position on the Central Park Five condemns Trump as being racist. I don't believe that that does. I think there are a lot of circumstantial things that we could build upon Trump to try and say that he's a racist. I still don't believe that Trump is a racist. More than anything else, I've said this through and through. Trump is not a racist. Trump is an opportunist. He is an opportunist. And the thing about it is, if we don't really take a step back and look at the way that this is unfolding, this is a nightmare, folks. And I'm telling you, we are not. Renee, I'm starting to step away from believing that he was from Americans. Trump has always been about Trump. Trump has always been about Trump. And here's the reason why I'm going to say this, is because there are so many opportunities for Trump to come out and basically rebuke a lot of the different things. Even on the whole COVID thing, that you have to understand, folks, I'm your president. I just want you to say, because this is things that we wanted to hear from Barack Obama. We wanted transparency. We wanted honesty. We sat there. Think about this. We get mad because Barack Obama said, if you want your plan, you can keep your plan, all the while knowing that that wasn't true. So that was just with insurance. We sit here and we watch this whole process even with COVID, that there was details that President Trump knew that he didn't want to share with people because I didn't want people to panic. You don't think that people would have panicked if Barack Obama said, oh yeah, you're losing your plan. Oh yeah, you're losing your doctor. Oh yeah, you're losing all this information. So why can we hold Barack Obama in charge? I mean, hold him accountable for his lies, but we don't want to do the same thing for Trump. Amy Coney Barrett, as much as I was happy to have another conservative on the Supreme Court, as much as I wanted to have another conservative on the Supreme Court, here's what we did. We compromised our principles. We changed our story. Lindsey Graham lied. He went back on his word. Mitch McConnell went back on his word. Oh, but we had the position. We're in control. When you're in control, you make the laws. Well, guess what, folks? That's the language that we said when we turned around and we believed that Donald Trump was going to turn around and basically do whatever he wants. And guess what? Now the shoe's on the other foot, and we now need to swallow the pill that we were feeding the other people when we thought that we were going to win and we were in charge. We sat there. We wanted to be haughty. We wanted to say, well, when you're in charge, you can make the decisions. Well, guess what? They're in charge. They're going to make the decisions, and we have to live with it. God is returning to us basically the filth that we dished out, and now we need to eat it. Now we need to consume it. Now we need to basically own up to the fact that we sat there and we foolishly entertained this nonsense, believing that we were doing what was right. Folks, if we don't change it right now, if we don't change this right now, we are in a lot of trouble. If we are lucky to see a conservative in office before 2028, count yourself blessed. There's this thing right now that there's this idea that Trump can run for Congress right now in Florida. And there is this hope that people believe that when Trump runs for Congress and he wins a seat, that Republicans will win back the House and Republicans will win back the Senate, and that all of a sudden that he can then make himself, that they can impeach Biden and Harris and put himself back in his position as president and then wind up finishing up Joe Biden's term and then run for office again in 2020. But I say to you, at that particular point, Folks, if we didn't want Joe Biden being the oldest president in this country, how dare we expect to want Donald Trump, who will be 78 years old when it's time for him to run for office? We don't want career politicians. We don't want people who are so old and far removed from from our young people running in office. And we want to put a senior citizen who has major mental issues back in the White House? Come on. Come on. We are the government. Just like Tim is saying, we no longer understand that we ourselves are the government, which means that we ourselves are no longer regard the Constitution as the gatekeeper to the God-given freedoms that God has given us. Because we've stripped the Constitution of its power because we put all power in the presidency, the vice presidency, in Congress, in the Senate, and in the Supreme Court. We put all our power there. And so while we were focusing big up top high, we changed our principles. We challenged our principles. Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, what we did, as much as I'm glad that there's a Supreme Court justice on, but is Amy Coney Barrett even another Manchurian candidate? Because things have not been working in his favor. Things have been not working in our favor as American citizens. See, we're doing all this political positioning to try and see if we can maintain and control power when the government never was supposed to have that level of power. Carrie saying, I live in Florida, and even now the retired people in my state who voted for Trump want him to be quiet. Folks, this is bad. This is really, really bad. I don't think we fully understand how horrific this is going to be. If we don't wake up and change this, folks, we got to dump Trump. We have to dump Trump. And again, this is not about having conservatives in power again, because here's the other thing that you have to understand. We have got to drop these identities of conservative, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, right, left. We need to drop these labels, because what it's doing is it's keeping us divided from sitting down and having conversation. We had a conversation yesterday talking about student loan debt. I want to get back into that for a second. Student loan debt is just ridiculous. We know that colleges are overpriced. No, we did not tell these individuals to get into that. We did not tell these individuals that they had to go to college. We did not do that. But they do need help. Was it the right decision for them to send their kids off to college? Was it a right decision for them to turn around and basically put themselves in this much debt for a degree that has not given them anything? No, it's not. But people do need help in this country. Let's stop being so partisan that we don't want to have compassion on people who are struggling. Is the government the solution on making this happen? No. Government is not the solution. If we want to fix this, if we don't want to basically bear the burden, hey, listen, there's a lot of rich people right now who could take some money out and pay off a lot of student loan debt. It wasn't my bill, and I'm not going to do this. Well, listen, so here's my question. Do we get so angry that we want things our way, that we're willing to allow the government to pass legislation to forgive people of their debt and then put that debt on the rest of the other people? Or do we turn around and we start motivating people with money to go in and help these people out who actually have the debt issues? See, right now, we could raise up so much money via all these different charity options to bless and help individuals. And it's like, no, we could raise up the money. What is it? You start a GoFundMe page to help people and raise up all this money. Why don't we do GoFundMe pages to turn around and start helping people pay off their college debts, pay off their college loans? But here's the stipulation in this. Is that okay? Here's my thing. Provide relief for the people who are dealing with this, okay? Provide relief. Now, there are some people who are going to use the system and buck the system to take advantage of the system and hurt everybody else and put their burdens, their responsibilities on the shoulders of other American citizens. Guess what? Former President Trump did the same exact thing. He turned around and allowed himself to use a system to defraud people 4 times. Hey, the system was there. He used it. Yes, he did. So why should we not allow the people who turned around and made decisions, poor decisions for school, end up, why do we defraud them the chance to use the system to get out of their responsibilities of paying their bills off? Don't sit here and call Donald Trump a successful businessman when he basically defrauded people over and over and over again. There are moral issues that are happening. Well, we want to save children. We want to sit there and we want to stop human trafficking. We want to stop all these other different things, but we keep embracing and pulling close to our bosom practices that are unbecoming of being a human being. Yes, Renee, join the military if you want your school paid for. You turn around. We have to have these programs out here that we help people understand. Don't get back into debt. I've been telling you guys about Dave Ramsey, about Financial Peace University, about Total Money Makeover for so long to help you guys understand. Listen, debt is not good. Debt is not good. But I think that there should be a cutoff point right after this because this $1.9 trillion thing is going to be passed. Okay? But there should be a law and a stipulation on this. After this, we can't help you anymore. If you go back to school, if you take out another car loan, if you go buy a house that you can't afford, that's on you. You deal with the consequences of those actions. We have to stop. Right now, our biggest problem is just not the government who can't stop spending. It's American citizens who can't stop spending. Yeah. True. Brian says the difference between bankruptcy and forgiveness of student loan debt is that bankruptcy is private money being forgiven, and student loan debt means the taxpayer, are responsible for someone else's debt. And remember, not every bankruptcy is about saying that money's completely wiped away, because you have 7 that allows you to have no responsibility of paying anything back, and you have Chapter 13 that you pay stuff back. Tim, you're so hilarious. Yes, Carrie, cut what athletes, actors, politicians get paid. They could take a couple of millions out, millions out of their accounts and still not be in poverty. True. But see, here's my thing though, is as much as I believe, see, we've bellied up this situation because right now we're freaking out because we're worried about Democrats being in control. And yes, Kathy, you can't include student loan debt in bankruptcy. See, here's the problem right now. The long road to recovery in America happens when we start paying attention to the small details, okay? And we start asking the right questions, the 5 W's. Because if we don't start asking the right questions, there's just going to be this huge mirage. And we have to teach our friends on the other side of the aisle to do the same exact thing too. Ask the right questions. There are a lot of people on the other side of the aisle that we may not agree with, but they're far more intelligent than we give them credit to believe. But because of our partisan arrogance, we don't want to hear that. Because we just want to see them as the enemy, and we can't have a discussion with them because they're on the other side, not realizing that it's the devil's excellent play on keeping us divided. Earlier this week, like I said, I had this conversation with this teacher, and she's like, why is it that public schools, parochial schools, and even charter schools all have anger towards one another when they should be working together? And it's the same thing here. Why should we as Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians be angry with one another and not wanting to actually break bread with one another and learn who each other each person for who they are. I started the week off when I was sitting there talking about the false accusations, and I was preaching out of Genesis chapter 39 and talking about how Joseph was falsely accused. You had the first documented Me Too movement where someone falsely accused someone of sexual assault when it didn't happen. We've been spending all of our time falsely accusing Republicans of this, Democrats of this, and we never did our due diligence because, well, Q told me this, or I got this from this information. I mean, think about this. Think about this, folks. Everybody keeps talking about the whole idea that Trump was a Christian, that Trump was he was God's man. Why is it then that everything had to be in anonymity? Why is it that everything had to be unclear when you wanted a direct answer from him? Why is it that but you couldn't get a direct answer from him? You couldn't get him to directly come out and actually expose, well, he did speak out against this stuff. No, as much as this Negro wanted to be out in front of everybody, he had time after time, chances to be out in front and basically say, I want to put an end to this. Okay? He could have shut all this stuff down. The fact that, see, everybody's talking about the whole idea that January 6th was built up to this particular point. Folks, do you reckon, let me help you understand something here. And you need to hear something clearly. Were there Democrat plants that were in there? Yes. There are Democrat plants in the Capitol riot. But do you recognize that there was no reason to actually have a demonstration January 6th if Trump actually ran a right campaign? He used this moment to swell everybody up in their emotions. We want to take this country back. And it's like, but Negro, you cause chaos. You don't like humbling yourself and actually even showing some sign of humility so that we can actually show you actually care. You kept mocking, we keep mocking Trump. I mean, we keep mocking Biden. We keep Horizontal Harris, Forgetful Joe, Lying Ted, all these other different things that are being said over and over and over again. And we keep sitting there expecting that we have this, God says, let no unwholesome talk come from your mouth. And we as Christians allowed unwholesome talk to come from our mouths. And we expected God to bless America? Oh, they're aborting our children, and they're human sex trafficking, and they're child sacrificing. We are condemned right now because of our inconsistencies and our indignation. And I tell you, it is a long road to American recovery until we start humbling ourselves and asking God to forgive us for being the hypocrites, every last one of us. Every last one of us. Until we humble ourselves, folks. Until we humble ourselves. Let's get to this verse. If my people will humble themselves and pray, I will heal their land. There's nothing humble about Donald Trump. There's nothing humility about Donald Trump. Right now, we believe that the next conservative candidate can't do anything unless Trump is there to bring his followers with him, and that's the problem with with every stinking party. Whether you're Democrat or you're Republican, if you put your hopes in your party getting steam off of one man, then your party has no business existing in the first place. And if we think that the only way that America can win is to actually rely on Donald Trump and conservatism, we deserve to lose. We deserve the communism, the socialism, the fascism, the totalitarianism, because God is trying to help us understand. You keep putting your hopes in this unhumble man and this arrogant, haughty individual, and now folks, as we start doing all this stuff, I'm serious. Things are about to come out. Y'all were waiting for things to come out against the Clintons and the Obama. Things are about to come out about Trump. And many of you, even as the information is there, you still don't want to believe it. And if at this particular point, with all the data that comes out that proves the corruption that was even in Trump, and you deny it, you are a hypocrite. Don't sit here hoping that QAnon is going to give you information. Don't sit there and hope that Trump is going to give you information. Don't sit here and hope that Lynn Wood's going to give you information, that all these people are going to give you information, and you don't want to take a look at the man in the mirror. It's a long road to recovery. Mind your P's and Q's and W's, because if you don't, this is going to be a very long road of pain and regret if we don't want to humble ourselves. We got shellacked in this last election. Election fraud or whatever else. Democrats mobilized and educated people. QAnon and Trump immobilized and made people stupid. If you don't believe that, we're going to lose every election moving forward. Army host Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom, Mojo Fiber Radio. Folks, I know a lot of you probably lost you, and there's nothing much I can do about that. I can only pray that we wake up and do what's right. Brad Staggs and the Daily Mojo is up next. Take care. God bless. I'm out.